Guys, welcome back. So in this week what we're going to be doing is a full trade example. Okay, now this is a profitable trade, and then next week we're going to go over a losing trade. So the main point of this is not to try to teach you in a systematic way where this is what a good trade looks like, so this is what you need to do all the time. No, what I'm trying to make you do is I'm trying to walk you through the mindset. So I'm going to show you some of my own trade. And then with that mindset, you'll get an idea of, well, as a student or as an aspiring trader, how am I supposed to think? Because that's the main key, right? Because no market is the same, right? Every day the markets are constantly changing, they're evolving, and you need to flow like water and adjust to them. So having that said, let's take a look at one of my most recent trades. Where's discussions? Where's closed? June 29. Where'd it go? Euro Aussie buy. Was it this one here? No, I don't believe it was this one. Give me a second here. Yeah, Euro CAD sell. Okay. Yeah, this was the one. Okay. So here is a situation of a trade. Now, first thing I want you to do the moment you look at this is to first understand, well, what are we looking at here? Is this a downtrend? Is this a range? The first thing that's going to come to your mind is all the pattern terminology. Immediately when you're looking at this, and some of you guys might say, oh yeah, I can see the V formation. Some of you might be like, oh, I can see the range. Some of you might say, oh, it's a downtrend, that is a pullback. So right now, what's happening is the moment you see a chart like this, the first thing your brain does is it tries to identify it. It throws all kinds of knowledge at it, trying to identify what the situation is. And that's good. Because your account balance is a reflection of how well your brain identifies what needs to be done. Right? But at the same time, you want to keep your brain under control to allow it to be wrong if it's wrong, and take up the next information and be like, oh, what I was initially thinking is not correct. It's the next thing I'm thinking that might be handy. So stuff like that. So when this situation came up, a few things happened, right? I was looking at this as a euro trade. Okay. All the euros were going down. Okay, they were in the sell mode. And when I'm looking at this, all of it as in a sell mode, let's take a look at this on the charts here. So let me go to Euro CAD. Okay, let me delete all this. Okay. All right, I'm going to show you here Euro USD. Okay, Euro USD not following. Euro CAD is sideways. Euro Aussie. Okay, this is a trade I'm looking to take, but Euro Aussie also sideways at that moment. Okay, this was last week, just on Friday. Okay, sideways, slightly going down. If I just look at just on Friday, so Euro Yen. Okay, it's all the way up in here. Okay, higher high sequences, lower low sequences here, but overall not doing anything. Okay, and finally Euro New Zealand, sideways, Euro Swiss franc. There we go. Also up in this area. So as you can see, there was not much for me to go by in terms of correlation. Okay, on the 4 hours, on the other hand, on the daily, on the other hand, I was seeing a much larger picture. There was correlation that I was seeing at that time that was telling me all the euros are trying to react for a sell at that moment. Overall picture tells me euro is not in sync. Does that make sense? I want you to understand that. So even though they weren't looking like they're in sync, which means euro gives me some kind of a sign that euro doesn't have a correlation, or they're not in sync, they're not in tune with each other. But at the time of a trade, they can be in sync and saying, okay, well, one of them is on top of a range. The other one is looking to do a buy, but it's in a pullback phase. The other one can be in a downtrend and the pullback is down to do the sell also. So you can see all these sells are starting to line up. Okay, although all the directions overall might not line up. So this happens a lot in the market as well. So it's a different type of correlation. So I started to spot that. Now, as unusual as it was, I didn't want to take Euro Swiss franc because the overall flow is up. I didn't want to take Euro USD because the overall flow was up. I wanted to find something where the flow was more towards the downside if I want to be the seller, right? So as I looked at this on Euro CAD, I was like, well, looking at this whole thing, I can basically go into the daily and I can see that, okay, according to the daily, we are in clearly a downtrend mode, okay? Depending on how much information you're looking at, slice the chart right there, okay? We're in a downtrend, we're in seller's territory, and this is what we're dealing with. Okay, this would have been a buyer's territory here, but that faked out, and that happened to be in our favor. So that looked pretty good. But I was aware that, oh my God, look at these strong buyers here. Look at these strong buyers here. I get my seller came in aggressive, but my buyer was really strong. I have a situation here. Went down to the 4 hour to look at the details of these buyers because it's almost like I'm looking at this as a weekly daily, right? It's almost like this is a downtrend on the weekly, and these pullbacks that I'm seeing on the daily, I can actually count the moves, right? It's like, oh, that's the first push up. The guy rests, he's the next push up, the rubber band man's resting again, and he's doing a full rest and stuff like that. So if I can count all the pushes here, that means it's coming in from the weekly view. So let me show you here. Here is the week, and if I delete all that, you can see the immediate information that I'm getting from this is seller's territory. Any pullback is for me to sell, correct? So daily is doing all those kind of moves. Okay, now this is like a top-down approach. Daily is doing all those kind of moves, but I'm not a weekly daily trader. Okay, I don't have that kind of a time. Now, this trade that I was trying to do, I was planning it ahead of time. Okay, I needed a trade that wasn't slow enough. Okay, so here, I call this took this longer term trade as I won't be around for most of the as I won't be around for most of the day due to my flight to Malaysia. So it was on Friday and I wasn't gonna be around the entire day. So I planned accordingly. I need to find a trade for myself that can run longer. Okay, that has a possibility of running longer. So when I saw this, I saw it's a weekly daily trade, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna take the trade from somewhere up here and take it all the way down, or possibility a lower low. Okay, but I did want to plan it out, like where can I fit in between, so when I come back on Monday I can still be able to trade. The trade was on Friday, so if I come back on Monday, I'm available on Monday. So if I'm available on Monday, I want to be able to take other trades that I want. I don't want my money all to be locked up into this trade, where if this trade is still running and it's going to take another 2 or 3 or 4 days, I can't do anything else because my margin and my money and everything's locked up into this trade. Right? Does that make sense? So you want to keep that in mind also, and you want to work and plan accordingly. Remember, you can make Forex fit your life. You don't have to fit according to the Forex life, because then what's going to happen is it's going to end up being another job, right? You're leaving one job to come into the next job, and it just pays well, but then what's the point if it pays well and you're doing an extra 3 hours more per day? You know, instead of 8 hours, you're working 12 hours a day. What's the point? It's not a good job then. It's actually counterproductive, right? So that's not a sign of freedom, you know, and that's the most important thing, is freedom. Okay, so once we have this information, going back to the 4 hours here, so I want to see the details of this. So I was like, okay, the buyers are extremely strong here, right? I don't like the fact that the buyers are so powerful here. Same thing here. Buyers are very powerful here. Buyers are very powerful here. Slows down, very choppy pullback. Buyers are powerful again. Now, as they're getting powerful again, he shoots up very hard, slows down a bit, shoots up again, And then in this area going up, he comes down, blasting down at the same speed. Now, I get that that looks like a probe or some sort of a V formation or something like that. But even for me to count it as a V formation, I don't like this. What is this? A V formation indicates my seller is back. But this V formation indicates my seller came back and struggled. Now, if my seller is struggling, that means there still must be buyers. I can't deal with that, right? I can't deal with that. So I have to give the buyers the benefit of the doubt, and I need price to get away from here and get up close to my sellers again. So it's like, okay, seller buddies, let's hope you're still around. So I need price to come up. So I'm waiting. Price goes up. 2 candles, knocks down. Interesting. Price goes up again. And this area gets knocked down. These signs for me was telling me, oh, this can actually be very useful for me. I think it's a probe area. I have inability for the buyers to go up anymore. I can do the sell. Now in the sell, notice where I close my trade. Okay. The trade was to take it all the way back down to the same landmine where my V formation was struggling. Remember, I didn't want to take this trade all the way to the bottom because I didn't want to sit through it going into Monday, right? Now that it's Monday, I'm free again. So I wanted to just take it down to here. However, I come with a sense of fear. I don't have fully correlation on euro. I just have temporary correlation. All the trades are looking to temporarily sell. Okay. The next thing is I'm looking at a V formation that is struggling. Okay, and I'm about to sell into that. So I have this sense of risk management running in the back of my mind, even though I see, oh my God, it's a probe, man. It's a probe. That's perfect. And this high never happened, and the buyers are struggling. I can list all the benefits as much as I want, but at the same time, if risk is a big thing for me, I also need to risk the negatives. Okay, this kind of practice is very important. Okay, you can't just always list the benefits. You also have to list the negatives in this trade, because you have to consider it like you're buying a house. Don't just list all the good things about buying a house. Also think about, what are the dangers? Is it a bad neighborhood? Is it, are they building, a skate park next door, and you're going to have people skateboarding all over your house and stuff like that? I don't know. Whatever the concerns may be, you have to look at all the pros and cons, right? Not just the pros. And as traders, what happens is, because we're trying to make a quick buck in the market, we forget that there are dangers. We assume that since a trade is setting up according to our knowledge, this trade is going to win for sure. We have to be careful with stuff like that. Okay? So when we see information like this, we're like, okay, I got to get ready to sell this stuff. I sold it right up there. Okay? Why? Because I went even further and I dug it out on the 60. Okay? Let me just leave this line here. Okay? I dug it out on the 60 after waiting for all this test to happen. It is only then I went to the 60. I'm like, okay, show me what you have. He went up, struggling, went up higher, but then got slammed down. Okay, look at the amount of buyers that are here. Look at the amount of sellers. 2 candles takes away the entire up move. Interesting. Buyer comes up, aggressive. Seller comes down, aggressive. The next time it comes up, buyer's up again. Very aggressive. I am freaked out. I don't want to do this. I'm waiting up here anyways. I'm like, come up near my seller so I can sell it. I'm supposed to wait up there, but I'm watching this. I'm like, what's going on? I am aware that there is a probe territory here, and this high never happened because it was all fake. Right? I'm aware of that, but I don't like the fact that this thing is coming up guns blazing. All right? It's coming up full speed. Okay, and then he comes down and he stops at support and resistance. Now this support equals resistance is buyer's territory, and this big purple line is seller's territory, telling us that It's a seller's market. That's a probe. That's no higher high. There's a strong resistance up there. Now, I had to make a call at this point. Am I going to buy? Am I going to sell? We're in a money spot. So I got all my things starting to line up. I got my money spot lining up. I got my V formation that's unusual that's there. I have my risk control, which is saying if I do the sell, I want to be with my sellers, not with the buyers. So I am away from, where's my thing? I am away from this area at least, this nonsense. This is where all the buyers start, right? I am away from these landmines. Check. Even that is checked in this area. Now I'm in this area as support equals resistance in the money spot. I'm like, I will still give them the benefit of the doubt. They try a couple times, and when they fail, then it's like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna hit that sell. I hit that sell, instantly trade comes down. Okay? I am aware that there's a mini landmine here also, and it reacts against me. Notice at this stage, it's gonna react to me. I'm already in profit. 3 hours into the trade, I'm into profit. Bounces off the bottom, starts to come against me. First hour, just a little bit. Second hour, leaves an exhaustion candle. I'm still worried about my trade. Going into it, where am I, right? Going into it, moved stops to 0. Okay, look at how the trade just came down, and because it's near this, if you can assume what it looks like on the 1 hour, this was that mini landmine I was telling you about, right? Where I'm aware that it's going to do that. Now I'm in profit. Why would I, if it reacts from this mini landmine, he can come all the way up to here and then go down again. That's a possibility. But why would I move my stops down to 0 so quickly, risking that I'm going to just get hit for no reason and the trade can still work without me? And then I'm going to be like, oh man, I can't believe I missed it. So you understand now, you see where the logic of I need to still protect my tail, right? I have to control my risk as much as possible. So it's not as simple as, oh, it's a V formation, there's a test, let me just hit a sell, and then when I'm in profit, I move my stops to 0, and then it's all money and roses. No, there's a lot of thinking, a lot of assessment involved. Notice how much assessment is going into trade management after the trade is done. Okay, there's a lot of work prior to the trade. Okay, that has to be 90% of your work. You know why? Because the moment you hit the sell, your brain is now gonna work at 20% of its capacity. Okay, because you're so hoping for the sell to work, you cannot do any more analysis properly. So the majority of the work needs to be done prior to the trade. But once you take the trade, you still have to force yourself to look at the trade and continue to analyze what can happen, what can happen, what can happen. Okay? Now, the easiest thing to do is let it go, do what you planned prior to the trade, and you should be fine. But the risk assessment that I kept doing was, I am aware that my V formation is weird. This V formation has a big tail on the bottom. It's showing me my sellers are struggling. I don't care if the buyers are struggling afterwards in the test phase, but my seller struggled. I don't like that. Why is my seller struggling? Not good. Not good. Okay? So when I see these pieces of information, I move my stop to 0 the moment the price has reached this area. Oh, sorry. The moment price has reached this area here. Okay, move stops to 0. I see the prices coming up to me. I'm about to board the plane, and I'm like, oh God, I guess I'm gonna get stopped out on this. But that's okay. It's at 0, but I'm still upset because I did all the research, all the work, and just like any other trader, I also have hopes in this trade that hopefully it will go well, right? Of course, it's the bad word to use because it's emotions, but there is some kind of expectation, right? But this expectation comes with my risk being 0, and I'm aware that there's a mini landmine here. It can. But if it doesn't, I'm going down to my next targeted area, which is down here, where the bigger landmines are, and the place where my V formation buddy also showed some sign of fear. He's also scared of this area. If he is, I am too. Okay? Prices are coming down. I come out of the flight. Prices are coming down. And, you know, okay, I didn't update the screenshot there. Here we are. Okay, markets are moving down. That was that little pullback. Going down to this green part down here that I have here's the little pullback that you saw, the green one, right? This is the 4-hour chart. And then it started to move down again, and he made a lower low. And then it started to move down again, and he made a lower low. I didn't let the trade run all the way down to my take profit because my mind was still going over this entire area is still a reaction area. Okay, going down to this green part down here that I have the of let's hope this works. If it works, let's hope this works. If it works, that's the maximum I see the price going to. Works, that's the maximum I see the price going to. Give away my profits or risk based on that idea of am I sure? This is something you must always ask yourself. How sure are you on your trade? And if you believe you are sure, but your mind tells you, I don't think you're sure, that's a big difference. Okay? So you have to understand it's very psychological at this stage. Very, very psychological. And I want you to understand that although every step of the way that I've explained to you, because you've taken the 4CB and the MPA up until this point, everything makes sense. You know, I'm certain of that. Everything's making sense of why I've taken the trade. However, you can see all the little extra detail is what needs to be built with instincts and with trading and with time and practice and practice, and with time and practice and practice. The better you're going to be. And that's why we have you guys, you know, coming into the elite community, watching trade after trade after trade after trade, looking at the psychology, the mentality, and understanding like, okay, why is this happening? Why is that happening? It will have multiple results. I do this, or why did this trader fail and wasn't able to take the trade? Stuff like that. Okay, same trade can have multiple results. I do this many times. I'll post a trade and I'll see I got stopped out, but 10 of my students made money and 2 more people got stopped out also. Okay, this happens all the time. You can have the same trade but multiple different approaches of how you get in, how you and stuff like that. Okay, so now I exited this trade. So this trade I took a smaller size on this one. You know, normally I do anywhere between 3 to 4 or 5 standard lots, whatever I show you guys on the elite community. This one I went even lower. I did just 1.5 standard one. You know, normally I do anywhere between 3 to 4 or 5. Approximately 700 US dollars on this one. Okay, so in this whole formation, you can see, I believe that the other bank 50% at take profit 1 and manually close the rest. Okay, so we had some other students making more money all the way down, and they probably closed 50% with me. Okay, all right, so there you have it. This is a full trade example front to end, plus the little brain ideas of in between. What did I do prior to the trade? What is the stuff I'm afraid of? What is the stuff I'm afraid of during the trade? What is the stuff I'm afraid of after the trade? And now as a trade assessment or a post analysis, when I do all this, I was like, oh, okay, it did reach this. When I do all this, I was like, oh, okay, it did reach. What I need to do is, well, now that I know this information, will I still be able to control myself on the next trade? And if I have the same situation, or am I going to get greedy and say, oh, remember last time it went all the way to the bottom, it should go this time also. And that is incorrect. You have to treat each trade uniquely. Okay, you have to trade each trade uniquely. You cannot bring a result of a previous trade into your next trade, because the next trade is completely unique. Okay, so I hope this exercise was useful. I went very detailed into it. I'm going to just keep one video for this one so you guys can watch it over and over again. This is a very, very thorough post-analysis, and I've walked you through the mindset, through the trade approach. And what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to show you a trade that was lost. Okay, and how it was lost, what was being done, what was the fears, what was the greed, what was the hopes, all that stuff. We're going to go over the psychological part, the setup, the entries, the exits, the trade management, everything. Okay, and why that trade was lost. And maybe I'll give you guys a little bit of a quiz to ask you guys of what would you have done at certain stages. So where you guys can pause the video and explain what you would have done, and then we resume, and then you pause the video and you say, okay, think about what you would have done. So these kind of examples can be very, very powerful for you. Okay, so very, very powerful for you. Okay, so more of these trade examples, Naveen. As much as I can show you my trade examples, what you need to do is start building your own trade examples. That is more powerful. Trust me. There is only so much you can learn by looking over to the next person's answers on his test. At least now you know the questions. You see, and do that test yourself. Even if you fail, at least now you know the questions. You see, at least now you know the questions. You see, you get better. And if you take that test again, you get better, because you know how you react to each question, because the next student doesn't react the same way you do. Okay? The same way you do. Okay? Have the same psychological aspects as I do, which is, you know, I go large, I go big, big sizes, and I also gun for bigger targets. Some people are very conservative. They go smaller, they go for smaller targets. They want to be sure they don't want to lose, and they want, you know, 80-90% accuracy, and that's good. I have accuracies sometimes at 60%, and I'm okay with that, because I go in big and I go for the 2 or 3, 4 R's sometimes, and when I win, it covers everything, but I'm able to stomach the losses. It doesn't really affect me so much, although I hate it, but I'm able to stomach it. So you have to go through this phase to understand who you are. You must take trade after trade, practice after practice, and with this stuff, it is very critical to discuss this with a peer. Okay, so that's why if you're in the elite community, make sure you discuss your trade with a peer, and put it out there. You know, put up a post and be like, hey, what would you have done in this thing? Is this correct? Is this wrong? Or make an open-ended question. You know, did I do this correctly? How many of you guys took the same trade? Okay, and you don't have to take anyone's advice. You can just watch how everyone replies. Okay, that's the most important piece for you, is observation. Okay, now you might get 10 replies responding to you. From those 10, 5 might be correct, 5 might be incorrect, but now you have an idea of how people are looking at it. Okay, that is more valuable to you than which one is the right answer, because you're gonna figure out the right answer from trade to trade as you get better. Okay, so remember, it's not about how you how the setup is done. It's about how you think during that setup. That is the trading key. That's your golden key right there. It is not the trade design. It is what you do with that design that makes the difference. Okay, so keep that in mind, and I will see you guys next week. This video has gone way too long. Hopefully it was useful. If you have any questions, let us know below, and I will see you guys next week, same time, and we'll go over a losing trade. Cheers.